Hi, this is Zach Meir with the Bulletin Board Heroes here at Zach's Traders Cafe for Monday, the 4th of August. Starting off with the FTSE 100, which managed to find support at the floor of the rising red trend channel there from back in May. So that was basically Friday's low around 90.27. Above that, we're still looking for and hoping for a move down up to the May resistance line there, 92.40 by the end of this month. Looks a bit of a stretch, given that it does appear that there has been a proper top put in most of the major markets, but at least while we're above 90.30 or that zone, still looking for 92.40. Moving along to the DAX, and this is where the rug pull was maybe sharper than the FTSE, but even here we're trying to rebound the old March resistance, 23,500 coming into play there. Still got a bit of work to do to get back above the 50-day line, which is now falling, which is never a good look. And also, obviously, we've gapped down on Thursday as well, so double bad look. But I suppose the minimum here would be an end-of-day close back above Friday's peak, around 23,800, ideally. We get back above that 50-day line, 23,950 early this week. At the moment, the upside, 24,500, and that July resistance line, probably too early to talk about 25,000 plus, given where we are at the moment. Worst case, back down to 23,000 and June support. The Dow is next, and here we have a situation which is also echoing what we're seeing at the DAX. It was worse. The market bouncing or having to bounce off the 50-day moving average there at 43,400 after gapping down on Friday. A lot of work to do now. Minimum in terms of work is 43,800. The mid-July support, so end of day close above that required to get us back to having another go at 45,000. I can't rule out a move down to the 200-day moving average, 42,800, before we resurrect again, if we indeed do. Onto the cryptos, starting off with the Bitcoin situation here. We've got I suppose, a less steep rising trend channel to start the week after the falls that we've had. Disappointing, we broke 115, which was that mid-July support. We need to get back above that to put us back in the game. We move up to the top of the channel there, now at 130. We were previously looking for 140. And on the downside, we still have the risk that we test July's support towards 105 before we get another move to the upside. So not quite as glossy there at Bitcoin as it has been in the recent past. On to Ethereum, which is actually outperforming Bitcoin today, which is always nice. Here we bounced off the old resistance there from back in January, so around 3,400. Above that, hoping for an end of day close back above the top of that rising trend channel base from March, around 35.70. If we can do that early this week, then we could be back in the frame for a best case scenario targets as high as 4,400 by the end of this month, although, has to be admitted, that is rather pushing it, even though we've had an RSI 50 rebound, which at the beginning of last month did worked its magic for the Ethereum market. On the downside, probably the worst this stage would be July resistance in the 50-day line, just near 3,000. Moving along to gold and hoping that the traditional asset may be doing rather better than the new ones. But here you can see that we've got this rising trend channel. I suppose we bounced at or just below that price channel floor. The support area around 32.70, which was the mid-July support, and resistance 34.30, which we failed at a number of times now, and that really is the level to break in order to give us a chance of hitting 3,800. Maybe not by the end of this month, but by the end of next month. On the downside, not seeing anything really lower than 3,200, which has been the recent support zone on rug pulls. Moving on to the stocks and starting off with Aptamer, which all of a sudden is looking rather good. The news flow has been good anyway, but now the price action is starting to pick up. Already been on the case in terms of regarding the target here as being 0.51 pence and very close to that. In fact, upgrading that now with a red 1 year resistance line projection heading for 0.7 pence, which we're looking for as soon as the end of next month, i.e. the end of September. But hopefully coming days will give us 0.51, 0.52 And we're looking for the upside there while we're above recent broken resistance at 0.42. So getting all optimistic about that one. Onto a stock which I don't normally look at, and I don't think anybody else does either, but here it is anyway. CEPS had a spike, a rather weird spike last month. Looking for, though, this market to break the recent resistance zone around 25 pence on a consistent basis and hopefully even head up to the top of that rising trend channel as high as 46 pence. Not quite sure what would do that. And obviously, one can't discount that there's just a flash in the pan move towards the main 1 year resistance, but just looks as though something brewing there in a positive way. Helped along, by the way, that the 50 and 200 day lines are both rising, and we've got strong price action over the last couple of days. Next on the list is CapAI, and here decent news from the company earlier this morning around, in terms of execution of heads of terms for game 42. Not sure whether that's anything to do with level 42, but here we have a line of resistance in the 50-day line there to break at 0.45. Above that, we're looking for at least 0.6 pence, hopefully by the end of this month after today's RSI 50 break and key reversal to the upside. Cobra's next, and it's been, I suppose, just an incessant good news in terms of discovery and also, obviously, the current situation in terms of rare earths on a macro level. We've broken through our second target by quite some distance, 2.05 above that, looking for the upper parallel of those resistance lines as high as 3.5 pence by the end of this month, which would take the shares to 4-year highs. Good farm market news from Europa, and here, if I can type out the correct stock, you'll be able to see that we've got the shares bouncing with a bear trap, at least a double gap to the upside now. We had a unfilled gap to the upside last month and another one now, so it looks as though this turnaround is serious. In fact, I'm surprised it's not even more given the news today. Break of 0.73 in the 50-day line, and we're looking at as high as 1.05, hopefully, by the end of next month, which is the top of a broadening triangle from the summer of last year. Ideally, we stay above the 50-day line at 0.52, whatever happens. Next on the list is Fiinu, and here you can see that we have an interesting setup in the sense that we've got a sideways move above a rising 50-day line, expecting 10 pence to break and head up to maybe 15 pence, hopefully as soon as the end of this month. RSI 50, extended RSI 50 rebound as well, and with the rising 50 and 200-day lines looking quite strong, at least while we're above that 50-day line at 8 pence. Gelion is next, a company I interviewed, I think, last week. And here you can see that we've got this rising trend channel and a ricochet off the sharply rising 50-day line, the 200-day line already rising anyway, which means we're looking for 34 pence, hopefully by the end of this month, while we're above recent support around 19 pence. A stock which I don't normally look at as well, coming up today, Java Securities. Here we got that sideways shuffle above a rising 50-day line, so it looks like a big rise on its way here. Looking for 37 pence by the end of this month, while we're above the floor of that rising trend channel at 20 pence on an end-of-day close basis. So hopefully Jarvis will deliver. A stock which has delivered already is IntelliAM, and hitting that target line there, the second one there, at 148 pence now for the second time. And the view at the moment is that we're looking for a fresh leg to the upside. End of day close through 148, looking for as high as 220 by the end of next month, which is the upper parallel of that July 2024 resistance line projection. And we're looking and feeling bullish while we're above recent support, 135. A stock which may come to life any day now is Rockfire, and that's set on the basis of the rebound for the shares off a rising 50-day line. We also had the gap higher beginning of last month. We've held the gap. We've partly filled it, which tends to happen when you're in a strong situation. We've also got a situation where the 50 and 200-day lines are starting to rise, at least the 200-day line is starting to rise. And above that 50-day line at 009, looking for 0.09 rather, looking for up to 0.22 by the end of next month. So feeling quite chipper about that situation. We're already feeling chipper about SolGold, and you can see that the shares have blasted through our second target there, around 11.6 pence. Next level up would be the upper parallel of that line, or at least a resistance line projection from back in 2023, and that's heading for 18 pence. We're looking for that by the end of next month, or even sooner. I think the news flow here has been very good indeed for SolGold, especially last week with the multiple high-grade intervals that the company reported at one of its projects. A stock which has kept on rising in a relentless way is Team Internet, and or rather Team. And here you can see we've just broken into new higher ground at 40 pence. That was 42 pence was our best case scenario target after about 3 or 4 targets. You can see on the chart there's nothing really between the 42 pence level and resistance on the way down at the beginning of 2023 as high as 57 pence. So hopefully we can get 57 by the end of next month, giving it a bit of time, a generous amount of time for that situation. Finishing off with Vaultz Capital, which I interviewed over the weekend, doing overtime, obviously. And here, looks like a lot of people like the interview and obviously like the company. Here you can see that we were already looking for the shares to break higher after breaking neckline resistance at 9 pence. The initial target here was and is the 50-day line there at 13.8 pence. And if we can clear that, then looking for a move into the low 20s, hopefully later this month. But the key here is staying above for the channel and recent resistance at 9 pence. That's it for me today. More updates tomorrow.